On August 3, 2014, heavily armed militants swept across the desert and into Sinjar, a quiet region in northern Iraq. This chart shows the immediate human cost. Within days, 5,000 people were killed in calculated executions. The scope expands significantly when accounting for displacement. Militants captured thousands of women and children, while 400,000 individuals were forced to flee overnight. Historically, atrocities of this scale occurred in the shadows. Here, the perpetrators filmed their own crimes. Cell phones recorded the exodus. The entire globe could watch this violence unfold on their screens in real time. Despite that high visibility, international intervention moved at a crawl. Years later, teams are still excavating the mass graves left behind during those critical weeks of global inaction. Having access to the evidence is not a substitute for action. Watching a population face extermination without intervening is a conscious choice to leave them defenseless. The targets of this violence were the Yazidi. They are an ancient religious community who have lived on the Mesopotamian plains for millennia, preserving a faith that draws on Zoroastrian, Christian, and Islamic traditions. Central to their theology is a creator god and 7 holy beings. The most prominent is Melek Taus, known as the peacock angel. The invading militants deliberately misrepresented this figure as satanic. They used that specific theological distortion to provide a strict, ideological mandate to kill the men and enslave the women. Persecution is a recurrent feature of their history. Yazidi historical memory counts 72 prior attempts to eradicate them. The 73rd attempt combined modern, systematic execution methods with a connected audience that observed the destruction from afar. In Arabic, there is a concept known as sumud. It translates to a steadfast persistence against absolute oppression. It is the choice to remain when every system is designed to remove you. Nadia Murad is a practitioner of sumud. Captured and enslaved by militants at 21 years old, she managed to escape, but she did not retreat. Instead, she chose to become a highly visible advocate. She stood in front of cameras and crowds, publicly and repeatedly recounting the exact details of her capture and the brutal realities of her enslavement. She carried her testimony directly to the United Nations General Assembly, instructing world leaders to put her captors on trial for international crimes. This flowchart illustrates how her organization, Nadia's Initiative, operates. It takes raw public testimony and uses it to force UN recognition. That formal recognition then unlocks concrete funding for community rebuilding and creates the legal framework to prosecute the perpetrators. This method requires immense psychological endurance. To keep the international community engaged, survivors must repeatedly relive their deepest traumas on a public stage. Bearing witness demands action. By documenting the dead and demanding trials, survivors strip their attackers of the power to control the historical record. By 2024, a decade after the attack, the damage remains severe. Over 2,000 women and children are still unaccounted for, and the desert holds mass graves that have not yet been found. Those who choose to go back to Sinjar are returning to hollowed-out concrete and collapsed infrastructure. Yet some do return. Najwa, a 26-year-old farmer, packed up and traveled back to her family's completely ruined village. She knew that to stay in the diaspora permanently would finalize the attacker's goal. Eradicating a people requires permanently severing them from their land. So, among the debris of her former home, she cleared a small patch of dirt and planted a garden, ensuring her children would know what it means to belong to this place. You now know what happened in Sinjar. By hearing these names and understanding this history, you share the responsibility of remembering it. Survival often happens quietly. A family returning to a fractured city and placing seeds in the dirt is proof that the perpetrators failed.